Hi guys, this is Ty from Colorado Skies Outfitters, and we are going to be tying a Scott Howell signature intruder. As you can see, I've already started by attaching the eyes on the bottom of the hook. If you have any questions on that, you can refer back to our video of the Clouser minnow. Then I've already attached my stinger hook, and if you have any questions on that, you can look at our video for the string leech. I'm going to start with the back, and we're actually going to build a dubbing loop here to start to build our first station, or I guess you could almost call it an egg on this particular fly. So I make myself a decent sized dubbing loop here. I'll grab my dubbing whirler here. And get my dubbing wax here. This is going to be a big friend of yours throughout this fly. And this is just standard, low tack dubbing wax. For the back end, I'm going to be using this STS trilobal in hot orange. Pull myself out a decent clump here. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to pull out little chunks and I'm going to load them into this dubbing loop, building myself a dubbing rope out of this. Try to even it out so there's no real gaps and it's all relatively even. Give it a spin. Let's come in with my whip finish tool. I'm just going to pick this dubbing out a little bit. Go ahead and start building the back here. Go ahead and just tie this off. Just going to make sure that you can see here, my ostrich goes just to my hook. It's all the farther I really need it to go. We're going to come in with some gold tinsel. This is just going to be our body here. I like to tie it in on the bottom because when you start to wrap it, you can't really see where you start. Go ahead and tie your tinsel off. Next part is we're just a little bit more dubbing here. We're going to use some ice dub. This happens to be pheasant tail color. ourselves a dubbing rope here. We're just going to build ourselves a little bit of a dubbing ball. After we get that accomplished, time for another dubbing loop. Alright, the next step, now that we've got our dubbing loop built, is we're actually going to take some Arctic fox tail. You can use deer hair if you want, but and spin it like a traditional way. I'm going to just spin this Arctic fox in a dubbing loop, which I find works the best. When you use deer hair, the problem is it makes your fly more buoyant. It makes fly lighter and it's harder to sink it. So for me, I would rather just use the Arctic fox. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of spread this throughout my dubbing loop. Once again, trying to get it, roughly about as even as I can. And one of the tricks of when you're spinning a hair like this in a dubbing loop is if you actually pinch the thread just below your material and start spinning until you feel tension start, when you let go, none of the material will fall out of your dubbing loop. Give it a good spin. Try to pick out as many fibers as you can, just to make sure none of them are trapped. You can see I've got kind of a stack of hair that kind of looks like hackle. I'm just going to go ahead and start wrapping it forward. And I'm going to do the same thing about trying to fold this material back on itself to get it to sweep backwards. And all I'm doing here is trying to wrap the material one wrap right in front of the last. Go ahead and tie off. And this Arctic fox is going to prop this material up and allow this ostrich to be able to spin pretty loosely and freely in the current. Just load your ostrich in. put your finger on the back of the material. It'll allow you to hold that in place while I take my bodkin and try to even some of these fibers out, just like we did with the dubbing and the hair. I'm going to hold this until I feel tension on my thread. Go ahead and let it go. Try to get my ostrich curl evened out as best I can, and then go ahead and just start wrapping it. Try to do the best you can to get this material to lay back, but if you can't, it's alright. We'll be able to fix it in the next step here.